everyone, Miss Gooch here, and this is a video all about Act 1, Scene 1 of Romeo and Juliet. And this takes place in a market, and it's where a big fight breaks out between the Montagues and the Capulets. So let's first of all start by seeing what happens in the scene. So Samson and Gregory, who are two Capulet servants, they enter and begin talking about how much they hate the Montagues. And then they see Abraham, who is a Montague, and of course they try to antagonise him and wind him up, and they do this by biting their thumb at him. And this is the equivalent of, say, putting your middle finger up to somebody. And of course it works. A fight begins, and then Benvolio, who's a Montague, he arrives to try and break up the fight. And Benvolio is always, throughout the play, a peacemaker. The word Benvolio actually translates to peace. So you can see that it's his whole character. And then the Capulet, Tybalt, who is known as the Prince of Cats, he arrives and dismisses the idea of not fighting. In fact, he is disgusted by it because he wants to kill all Montagues. Just as far as he's concerned, death to all Montagues. But why is this scene so important? Well, obviously it's the opening scene and it sets up a lot of things for us straight away. So we learn how petty the conflict really is. We learn how quickly things can escalate. We learn how bad things are between the households. Even the servants are fighting. They know about this fight, and even they are fighting to defend the honour of their household. And yeah, we learn how masculinity and honour control the actions of these male characters. It's all about honour and pride and making sure you're the most manly. You'll see that as the play goes on. So we're going to read through this scene like a chunk at a time. So I'll read it through once and then we'll have a little look what's going on. So let's start with this scene. So just so we know, I'll put a little note here. Samson and Gregory, they are Capulets. Okay. So Gregory says, "I will frown as I pass by, and let them take it as they list. Nay, as they dare, I will bite my thumb at them, which is a disgrace to them if they bear it. Enter Abraham and Balthazar. Do you bite your thumb at us, sir? I do bite my thumb, sir. Do you bite your thumb at us, sir?" Aside to Gregory, "Is the law on our side if I say I? No. No, sir. I do not bite my thumb at you, sir, but I bite my thumb, sir. Do you quarrel, sir? Quarrel, sir? No, sir." Okay, so let's have a look at basically what's going on. So Gregory decides that he's going to frown at the Montagues and let them take it as they list. So he's basically putting it onto them. So I'll frown at them, and then if they decide to fight, if that's what they want, then I'll have to fight back. So he's trying to antagonise them. He's trying to get them to face, to make the first move. And Samson goes one step further. He's like, "I won't just frown, I will bite my thumb at them." And then that will disgrace them. That'll be an awful thing for them to put up with. You know, if they bear that, if they put up with that, then that's on them. They're a disgrace. So straight away we've got that ideas about honour coming in here, and like protecting the name of your household and not standing for any disrespect, basically. And straight away Abraham says, "Do you bite your thumb at us, sir?" And look at all these sirs. Okay, I definitely do not think these are genuine. This is fake respect. They're trying to have this like an illusion of being polite, but in fact it's almost to wind them up more. And this is interesting. So Samson, and aside to Gregory, that means he just talks to Gregory on his own. "Is the law on our side if I say I? Yes. If I say yes." Gregory says no. So clearly there's already some sort of law in place that prevents the Montagues and Capulets from fighting like this or starting fights. So then Gregory says no, because the law's not on his side. Samson says no. "No, sir, I do not bite my thumb at you, sir, but I bite my thumb, sir." More of this Sir repetition here. And it's this back and forth. You can tell that something is building, something is brewing. And then the fight continues. If you do, sir, I am for you. I serve as good a man as you. No better? Well, sir. Say better. Here comes one of my master's kinsmen. Yes, better, sir. You lie. Draw, if you be men. Gregory, remember thy washing blow. And they fight. All right, so you can see this is the escalation here. Because, remember, Abraham's just asked, do you quarrel, sir? And Samson says, but if you are quarrelling, I am for you. I am just as good as you. And this is a question from Abraham. Are you better? And Samson says, well, so he's hesitant here. He's not sure. Because remember, there's those laws in place. And then Gregory notices that Tybalt is on his way. So my master's kinsman, he's basically saying, here comes one of our own. Quick, say better. Tybalt's on his way. Especially when we get to know Tybalt. Tybalt is very, very fiery, very aggressive. If he thought that Samson and Gregory were not acting in this way and saying they're better than the Montagues, then he would be absolutely fuming. And then Samson says, yep, we're better. And Abraham is furious. You lie. And this is a very interesting line. Draw, if you be men. So remember that patriarchal society, I'm just going to call it PS for now, where men are in charge, men are dominant, and that it's important that they hold up this image of being strong and powerful and honourable and respectable. So by saying that, I mean that's the final straw before they fight. So let's look at the last bit. Enter Benvolio. Benvolio is a Montague. I'll just put that there. And Tybalt is a Capulet. So let's read this through. Partfuls, put up your swords. You know not what you do. Beat down their swords. Enter Tybalt. What, art thou drawn among these heartless hinds? Turn thee, Benvolio. Look upon thy death. I do but keep the peace. Put up thy sword, or manage it to part these men with me. What? Drawn and talk of peace? I hate the word, as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Have at thee, coward. Alright, so quite a contrast here between Benvolio and Tybalt, because Benvolio, you can see his sort of desperation here. You idiots, put up your swords. You don't know what you're doing. And if you remember that comment about the law, he's obviously panicking here. And he pulls out his swords and tries to encourage the people with him to beat down their swords. And obviously Tybalt enters then and thinks they're fighting. You're drawn among these heartless hinds. So you've drawn your sword among these heartless hinds. I think that's referring to the servants because they're lower status than Tybalt and Benvolio. And then, I mean, he doesn't mess around, does he, Tybalt? Turn thee, Benvolio, look upon thy death. And Benvolio's like, whoa, just trying to keep the peace here. And he's saying, like, help me. So Benvolio really here is being very reasonable. He's reaching out to Tybalt. He's trying to stop this situation from escalating any further. And Tybalt is absolutely having none of it. So he's saying, what, you've drawn your sword and you speak of peace. And then he says, I hate the word, as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Now, it's important here to think about the order of these, because hell, particularly in a very religious time, hell for these people is the absolute worst, most awful place you can go. So Tybalt puts that first, and then suggests that the Montagues and Benvolio are worse than, or if not as bad as, hell. And then he calls him a coward. So then they do fight, and we'll see what happens after that. So we're going to try to have a go at answering this question. How does Shakespeare present masculinity in this scene? And I've given you a few ideas here. So I've said masculinity could be seen as like a constant power struggle, as violent, as aggressive, as dangerous. And I've picked this quotation: I will bite my thumb at them, which is a disgrace to them, if they bear it. So this was one of the servants at the start that said this. And I want to think about for this, I'm thinking about for answering my question, what I'm going to say about the language of this quotation. So I definitely want to talk about how this is such a small, kind of petty gesture, and it shows you how like fragile the situation is, that this could be the cause of such a huge fight. So we get that straight away. And here is this idea of certainty. There's no thought about it. So we could think about the idea of like masculinity being, makes you impulsive, makes you act just on instinct, and not really think things through. And again, I sort of said this before, if they bear it, this is this idea of like being disrespected is the absolute worst thing that can happen to a man. And it shows you how masculinity has to be protected at all costs, protecting the honour of your household, and your manliness. So I've got a few things that I can say about this quotation. That's how you know you've picked a good quotation for the question, because you'll have lots of things to say about it. Okay, so I have some quotations for you for your own argument. So I would like you to select a quotation from these to support your argument about masculinity. So you can use, do you bite your thumb at us, sir, with a repetition of sir. Peace, I hate the word, as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Or any other quotation that stood out to you from the part that we read. Or there's a shine task there. So pause the video now so you can plan your own answer. So annotate the quote just like I did. And then let's have a go at answering this question together. So either just use the success criteria here to do your own, or you can watch me do a model. Okay, so I'm always going to use the words from the question to start my answer. So I'm going to say, Shakespeare presents masculinity as, and I'm going to use one of these ideas here that I thought about. I'm going to say a power struggle as a constant power struggle. And that's my central argument. That's me answering the question there. And then I'm going to put my evidence in and say, Samson, a Capulet, says, I will bite my thumb at them. If they... Actually, I'm going to keep it there, which is a disgrace to them. Brilliant. So I'm just going to go straight on to my language analysis here, and I'm going to zoom in. It says on a word, I'm going to go for a phrase. So I'm going to say the phrase bite my thumb is such a small gesture. I'm literally just going to copy up my annotations here, suggesting that the power balance is so fragile the tiniest action can affect it. Furthermore, so I'm going for my multiple ideas explored here. Furthermore, it shows how easy it is to antagonize the men, because they are always trying to protect their honor, and I'm going to use a word from the question, masculinity. I want to talk a little bit about context here as well. So I might mention, I'm either going to mention the patriarchal society, or I might mention the fact that Samson is a servant. I think I'm going to go for that one. So I'm going to say the fact that Samson is a servant enhances the, how far this conflict has gone and the influence it has over every male within the household. So links to context is what was going on at the time. So this is just like about class, basically, the fact that even the servants, the lowest of the class, are being influenced, shows you how bad it is. And there's more I could say. You saw my annotations, I had more to say, but I'm going to leave it at that for now because I want you to have a go at yours. So let me just finish colour coding. This is my language analysis. Here's my evidence. Oh no, that should be this colour. And there's my central argument. Okay, so I'll put this on full screen. I want you to have a go at your own, and when you're done, send it off to your teacher.